wondering, do any of you guys have parents who have electric vehicles or anything like that? No? Okay. How much do you know about electric cars right now?
I know that someday I want a Fisker Karma.
What?
So I know that someday I would like a Fisker Karma.
Okay, I've never heard of that one. Okay, the last group I talked to mentioned that one. What's this Fisker Karma?
Well, Fisker is the guy who designs cars for Ferrari, and then he said, well, what the hell, why am I doing this? I'll make my own company. So he sells cars.
Okay.
And basically, like the Tesla Roadster, you know what that is? Like the Fiskers are prettier, and they're gonna be far better.
Okay.
And they're out in California. They just bought a plant that Toyota and GM kind of jointly made together, and Fisker bought it with yeah. Anyway, so it'll be interesting. But
okay, what makes that car better than this one that he wants?
What do you want? Tesla. You want Tesla? Well, the Fiskers are like sleeker, smoother, and they run a lot farther, faster.
Okay, so they're sexier. And
it's like 350 miles to the charge, and I think like the Tesla gets like 250 or something like that.
Either way, they're basically sports car electric cars.
Yeah, exactly.
How long does it take to charge that?
The car was like 4 to 6 hours. So.
Okay. On like a regular house charge?
Plug-in in the house.
Okay, that's not that bad. A lot of them I've heard of 8 hours and like the whole day basically. Okay. So this car that I showed you, it doesn't have the radio, it doesn't have air conditioning, no fancy thing. How do you guys feel about that?
I feel like that I wouldn't personally care if I was getting a completely electric car, but I feel like the market as a whole would definitely want air conditioning and a radio.
Okay.
Just like anything in a basic car now.
Is that heat?
It can easily generate heat because the batteries in it produce heat. Yeah. Well, one of the things they were thinking about, like the way the brakes and stuff are, it doesn't have anti-locks. So it almost can't be sold, if it is sold here, it has to be sold as like a summer vehicle or has to be sold in like Miami. But, so you would say, no, you have to have...
They know that's like a very low like price tag.
They're gonna treat it like a moped.
What was that?
They know like it's only like $7,000 for the vehicle.
Okay.
Unless you're gonna treat it like a moped type thing, like for the summer, but then you'd have to bump it down to that type of price.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the things about this car, it only has 3 wheels. So they have to license it as a motorcycle. So it almost would be like that.
Like almost a secondary vehicle.
Yeah, it's kind of like a secondary vehicle to go get groceries or...
What would be the price range?
What would you think is an acceptable price range?
How much are mopeds?
He seems like he knows more about electric cars than I do. How much are mopeds?
I don't know. I've never rode a moped. It's a moped.
How much do you think?
I have no idea.
No clue?
Not thinking cars.
Okay, I'm not a car person either.
Well, yeah, motorcycles run anywhere from like $3.5 grand to like
30. I'm just saying, you can buy a Harley Roadster for like 30 grand.
But I mean, how much like is a Vespa from like Europe? You know, like 3 grand, 4 grand. But I mean, this isn't just. This actually has a seat too. Yeah, I know. So somewhere a little bit more than a moped.
So less than 10? Less than 5?
No, maybe over 5.
More than 5, less than 10. Okay.
You're a big barbecue sauce run.
You gotta have that barbecue sauce. Okay. Have you guys ever rode motorcycles before?
Yeah, I have one.
You have one? Okay. What are the licensing rules with that and stuff? And how would you feel about putting that on this kind of car?
Actually, I don't know. I kind of had a question about that, is how people are going to get their license if they have that.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that we're pretty sure the BU team, the engineering team is working on. But, I mean, what we've been told so far, I mean, it's just like a regular motorcycle. It's just built differently. And it can
So
drive.
maneuverability-wise, they'd be like when you take your motorcycle test, there's a contest where you have to weave in out of cones.
I think they can do that with this. We've been told the engineers have like driven it, and I would assume that's kind of what it meant, was to handle it, see how it feels, because they're trying to improve it. So they have to know where its weaknesses
I don't think it'd be a bad idea. I think it might be kind of a pain to. I mean, I don't know. I took my motorcycle test without having really any idea what I was doing. So
And you passed?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I don't know. It was. I feel like if you could take the test on it, and they'd allow you to do that, I don't think there'd be any problem with the licensing issues or anything.
One more question about the amenities in the car. There's 2 seats in it. Would you prefer to have the seats right next to each other, like in a regular car, or have one right behind the other so it could be next to each other? Okay, so the sexiness only goes to a certain point with the sleepers.
Well, the Fisker's like a Cadillac on the inside, so
Leather seat.
you can't.
Yeah, that one's not going to cost you under 10 grand.
That one's going to cost you 50 to 100,000. So yeah, that's a little different.
I would think there would be benefits though. Just jump in real quick. If it was like a one after the other, it'd kind of be like pretty much an electronic motorcycle.
It's like a torpedo.
Yeah. You could do some cool body work or something like that. So keep that in mind.
About agent, you would probably prefer to.
Yeah, you feel close to the person you're next to.
Kind of awkward if you're trying to talk like this.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
Especially if it's like, as you said, it's just like an errand car pretty much. If you're driving your kid to school, you wouldn't want him in the back. If you talk to him after school, that's when his day was going.
Unless you had an infant with you.
That's true.
They have to.
That's true.
Okay, one more, I guess 2 more things. A lot of people we've talked to so far have said that with the electric car, a big motivator in buying it is to save the environment. How do you guys feel about that? That is a factor, it's not a factor?
Yeah, I think I'd buy it just for the convenience, save me a lot of money to gas. I mean, I don't know how as bad as that sounds. I think I need that more to save me a lot of gas.
Yeah, that would be one of my reasons too. The environment it comes with my mind, but I mean, it's not
And then what would you really do with the environment? You're just using electricity, so there's more coal going on through the electrical plants. So it's kind of the same. It's not helping a whole lot.
Electric cars do not make the environment any better. Like, I mean, if everyone in America got an electric car, like our environment would still be screwed by it. So.
How much annually gas?
We'd be out of gas, but we'd be burning coal like no other.
Depends if Silco jacks if the electric prices will get.
Or if we went nuclear.
We went nuclear, but that would take 5 to 10 years. And that's not going to happen because nobody's planning on doing it right now. So 5 to 10 years from now, we'll be like, hey, let's start some plants 5 to 10 years from then.
Right,
So.
okay. How about then the energy crisis that Obama is addressing with the corn alternative coal that we were just talking about?
Well, Obama's put a moratorium on offshore drilling, and the U.S. has the ability to, with proven reserves, to supply all of the energy needs of the U.S. But because we're limited by law, and Obama's supporting these laws, we're not actually allowed to drill offshore or in Alaska, and so the only energy crisis is one that's created by our own government.
Okay, so you don't think the problem is the source of the electricity, it's the government being
I think in the long run the source is going to be the issue, but in the short run there's not a crisis of any kind.
Okay. What about you guys?
I don't really know much about the topic, actually.
Really? Okay.
I'll let Will speak for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. You've been a big help.